For the record, I do have more than just black shirts in my closet. See, there's a red and a blue and the green. It's basically a really dark rainbow. Morning fam, thought I'd give you something special today. Wore the blue shirt. A lot of people think I only wear black, and they would be right. But one thing about doing these vlogs is I've noticed that looking at myself in black all the time is boring me. So I'm gonna try to mix it up a little bit and wear some colors. You'll have to let me know if that breaks your brain like it breaks mine. A couple of odd days coming up, but for a good reason. With everything going on lately, I haven't had a whole lot of time to just sort of mellow out and deal with things, and so I took some time off work. Gonna be dealing with all the stuff that I need to do there, but it also gives me time to make some more videos, catch up with that, which is gonna be great. Still no neighbors, which is kind of weird, but I mean, it does mean that I get to be in my yard in my underwear, so that's kind of nice. I mean, I suppose given that there's a street right there, I probably shouldn't, but I mean, they're shorts, right? So I've talked a few times about how I became a sex educator, how I moved from being a pastor to being a sex educator, and then now I'm here doing this while I'm also doing sex education. I've changed between some pretty big things. But one of the things that people pretty consistently ask is, how do I become a sex educator? They want to know the path or the secret to making it happen. How do you make money doing something that you love to do? And I think most of the time when people ask that question, what they want is like a really simple kind of step by step. You go to this school, then you do this program, and then you get the certification, and then the money just starts coming in. But actually, it's kind of like getting any job. I've been lucky enough to be employed since I was 10, I think. I had 1 year in that entire time. I'm almost 40 now. I had 1 year when I was unemployed. That was the transition year between being a pastor and then everything else that came after. That was actually when I first made videos, was during that year. So there's not a magic formula about how to become one specific job. I don't think that there's a direct path to becoming, say, a sex educator or even a pastor for that matter. But really there's a set of things that you can do to get yourself to the place where you're doing the job that you love to do. The first thing is realizing that there's a huge difference between a job and a calling. A job is the thing that you do for money. It's the thing that you go to, that you have hours at, that you produce something for somebody else, and because of that, they give you cash. Maybe that's a boss, maybe that's a business, maybe that's yourself. You go out, you do things for clients, they pay you, and then you feed yourself from that money. But that's a job. That's different than a calling. What happens when you focus on the job is that as soon as that job ends, you feel lost. I was totally in that position. When I was a pastor, and after almost 11 years, I got laid off, I had no idea what to do with my life. I was panicked, I was freaked out, I felt like everything was meaningless, because if I wasn't a pastor, what was I? And it was sitting down with a friend of mine who said that changing your job doesn't change your calling. That was the moment where I could stop and think, okay, what is the thing that brings me passion? This job has let me do the things that bring me passion, but what is the thing that actually brings me joy and excitement? And that's your calling. The thing that you love to do that charges you up, that's your calling. That was the first time I started thinking of myself as like a helper, or a storyteller, or a helper through storytelling, I don't know. So thinking about what I love to do, thinking about what fills me with joy, gives me options for what I can do for my job. So if your job is what brings you money and your calling is what brings you joy, hopefully you get to find a job that matches your calling. The second step is then finding a way to just start doing it. And when you do that, that means not necessarily making money at it or even being good at it. It means just doing something so that you get the feel for it and start to figure out your own voice and figure out the way that you do things. There's 100 videos on YouTube about finding your own voice, and it's actually no different than finding out how you do your specific calling in your job. That's still finding your voice. It's finding out what makes you special and unique in the thing that you do. So when I started being a sex educator, I went and watched tons and tons of workshops. I went and saw lots of presenters. I saw the things that I loved and that I wanted to emulate, and I saw the things that were annoying and I desperately never wanted to do. And then I started to build what my voice was out of that. When you're starting anything, when you're pursuing that calling, you're going to, by nature, just sort of take the bits that you see from the people around you and making them your own. The danger becomes when they don't become your own. I'm actually having this issue this summer where another agency in town is going out and doing workshops and using my exact same jokes and my exact same phrases to get the exact same laughs. And so then when I come and present, people go, I've heard that joke before, which is disconcerting, especially when it's about butt juice. But someone going out and teaching and being funny and humorous while they're doing a workshop, and maybe they're doing that because they saw that that's the way I like to teach, I'm fine with that. I mean, go ahead and take that style. If that style works for you, that's great. I figured out that it works for me because of my personality, and if somebody else's personality matches that too, fabulous. So that's what you have to do. You have to look at the things that you love to see, that make you want to watch more, the things that you want to incorporate in your version of that job. I can remember the moment that it changed when I was pastoring. It was seeing this other pastor and seeing how casual he was and how he sat down and talked to people like they were friends. That changed everything for me. That changed how I thought about things. That made me be the person I wanted to be. Did everybody like it? Hell no. But I liked it, and I felt like I was doing a good job, and other people did too. And it was the same with sex education. I watched all these other presenters. I saw, hey, they're funny. Hey, they're real. They're willing to talk about real issues. They're not shying away from those things. And that's what I loved. That's what I wanted to incorporate into my stuff, and so I did. My whole opening sequence of where I talk about the vlogs, that is a direct inspiration off of Casey Neistat's videos. I love how he intersperses text over the cityscape that he's in, so it creates setting and tells you the weather and where he's at. I love that creating of setting in a few quick seconds. Is it exactly mine? No. Am I trying to make it mine a little bit over time? Yeah. Is it there yet? Probably not. It's probably still pretty directly copied. But I'm not in New York. I'm not doing it in New York. I'm not running around with sunglasses all the time on my boosted board and everything else. But I am taking the things that I love and making them mine. The third thing is, it's going to take time. If you want to be a sex educator, you go and volunteer at a sex positive agency and start hanging out with the educators until they take you along. If you want to be a pastor, you start hanging out with the pastor and seeing how you can help, and then maybe going for training if you need that training. If you want to make videos, you watch videos and then you keep making yours and refining who you are until more people start watching. And that's going to take time, and that's going to take effort. It's not going to be fast, and you might not even know when you kind of reach that threshold. It sort of sneaks up on you. All of a sudden you realize, hey, this thing I was doing for fun potentially can be my job now. But there's no set formula for when that's going to happen. Even for things that are really straightforward, like becoming an electrician. You go to school, you get the skills, you get your certification, you still have to find a job, and then once you're there, you still have to work your way up. It's no different for the more kind of non-traditional jobs like sex educator or pastor or filmmaker or vlogger. And the last, and I think most important part, and this is the one that I sometimes struggle with the most, you have to be giving something back with your passion. If you're in a job and you're passionate about doing something, which is great and lovely and you're getting a paycheck, if you're not actually adding value in some way to the people that are your employers, you're not going to be getting anything back either. You're not going to be progressing in their eyes or in your audience or whatever it is your metric of success is. I could make videos every day for 3 years, but if I'm not at least sometimes giving things back that people want to see, whether it's education or entertainment or good advice, then they're going to stop watching and they're not going to care, because why would they? Nobody is there to give you a freebie. Nobody is there to pat you on the back and say, good effort, here's some money. I mean, that's the reality of it. People want things. Even a friendship is like that. If you're in a friendship where you're never getting anything from the other person that meets any of your needs, you're not going to be friends with them. So even if you're doing things like this, which I hope is a friendship, I consider you friends. You've been really sweet to me. Plus that Christmas gift was lovely, thank you. But if there's not some kind of exchange where you're both getting things out of it, then it's not going to go anywhere. Just because you feel excited about it doesn't mean that other people are getting things out of it. And I think that that's usually the last hurdle for people. A lot of people want to do something, they're passionate about it, and so what they do is they just start making it and they don't realize there's 75 other things that are already filling that need, or they're trying to meet a need of something that doesn't even exist. You see this when somebody opens up the 10th coffee shop in a town. Now, admittedly, even a small town could use a good 7 or 8 coffee shops, because coffee is delicious. But eventually there's just not a need to be met, and there's no more coffee people, and so you're trying to like steal away from other things, which is not unique. You're just trying to suck off of what someone else is doing. Everybody has something special that makes them unique. Finding out how to express that, that's a challenge for sure. I'm still in the middle of figuring that out, especially in this venue. But I know that that's what I have to do. I know that this is the step for me, is how do I provide something of value? And that takes time to figure out sometimes, because you have to offer things and then see what people say. It's the Cinnabon model. You stand outside with your samples and hope that people are interested, and they get a little taste and they come back for more. Pretty soon you're addicted to that sweet gooey goodness, which I guess is a phrase that could be said for lots of different things. So I mean, at the end of the day, if you figure out what your calling is, you figure out who around you is doing it and what you like about it and what you don't, you find opportunity to start doing it, and then you put in the time and effort to give something back through that, you're gonna be successful. You're gonna become a sex educator or a pastor or a filmmaker. So there you go, 4 easy steps. Should be totally simple, just copy and paste. It's not easy at all. It's still tons of work, but it's work that's worth it. At least I think it's worth it. I forgot to mention a couple extra exciting events that are happening today. Both of the girls have dates today, so that's a new thing. Emily is out for her 1-year dating anniversary with her babe friend, and Autumn has a fella coming over, and they will be sitting in a room with the door open, enjoying educational videos and perhaps talking about colleges. And I make it sound like a big deal, but it's actually not. I trust the girls immensely. We've taught them about making good choices for their bodies and putting themselves first and respecting their bodies and their safety and their autonomy. And you know what? I trust them to make good choices in that. And if they don't, then I'll support them through it. As for me, I've got a wonderful postcard to read from a friend. Definitely think it was the right idea to take some time off. I mean, I would have missed half the people walking by staring at me funny. That's an opportunity I wouldn't have wanted to miss. Okay, so the boy just arrived, and I shook his hand and then judged him internally based on the quality of that handshake. I think some behaviors are just too ingrained to let go of.